As I've talked about in my earlier videos, I'm currently working as a solo developer on an ambitious project to create a rally simulator based on the world of Targa rallies, and progress has been good, but every time I sit down to work on it, I end up focusing on learning some small details that might not even make it into the final product. Sure, it's cool to learn how to make an animated dash, but is it where I should be putting my focus? I haven't managed to ship a finished game yet, and here I am worrying about visual suspension movement. How do I know I'm even working in the right direction? So I came up with a plan. Steal. Steal from the biggest racing franchise of all time, Gran Turismo. Now, to try and single-handedly recreate a massive game that has been 20 years in the making would be even more stupid than trying to make a very niche rally game on your own with no previous experience. If I take a very small section of the game and try and recreate it to the best of my abilities, I'll get a sense of what was ahead of me, what I could achieve, and more importantly, would have something finished. Anything with AI was out for now. That was a whole hurdle to tackle in the future, and I was making a rally game, so might not actually be necessary. Time trials? Maybe, but then I'd have to build a whole track, and I only wanted to give myself a week to work on this. What's the thing in Gran Turismo that is bite-sized, universally loved, and not a source of any frustration to gamers whatsoever? That's right, license tests. Firing up Gran Turismo 4, because I like to keep up to date with the latest gaming trends, showed me that the first 3 license tests were very simple. 2 of them only involved driving in a straight line. I could do this. I will do this. So I'm going to give myself about a week to make the first 3 license tests from Gran Turismo and try and build a standalone game around it. What could go wrong? But first, let me demonstrate my pro gamer skills and show you exactly what I'm recreating here. So license test 1 is classic Gran Turismo fare. You drive in a straight line, you hit the braking mark. Honestly, it's insultingly easy. If you can't pass this one, you've got no right to call yourself up. Yeah, so don't worry about that one. I did this pretty much first time. Also, little known thing about Gran Turismo 4, it's actually impossible to get the gold trophy on the first mission. I think it's glitched or something. Maybe it's because I'm running an emulator. Who knows? Anyway, it's only possible to get a silver. So as you'll see, pretty much first time silver on that. Let's not worry about any of the more of that. So what have we got this time? Faster car, Mitsubishi. Obviously, we've seen that it's quite difficult for even the best gamers now to get a perfect run. So let's lower our expectations a little bit. But definitely my first go at this. No editing occurred whatsoever. Oh, gold. Oh. So yeah, this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with some pretty advanced gaming skills. And third test. Oh, look, CRX Del Sol. It's a rare cut. And we're not going to worry ourselves too much with this one. So this is where the realisation sinks in that I might have committed to building part of a racetrack, which seems like a bad idea, but we will worry about that in the future. That's future Tom's problem. And excellent racing line through there. This is not going to be... It's bronze. I only like bronze anyway, so we're happy with that. So, day 1, blank slate. Time to learn all the stuff I was going to need to do to make this happen. Got to use the time wisely. So what did I do? I ran straight to my 3D modelling comfort blanket, and even though I had plenty of low poly cars on my hard drive that would be great for this project, I decided I needed to recreate the first car in the Gran Turismo 4 license trials, the humble Mazda Demio. Because... reasons? Okay, this was a bit stupid, but it actually served a useful purpose. The whole idea at this stage was to work quickly and roughly, but also to produce a product that I wouldn't be completely embarrassed by at the end. The assets for this project are far lower poly than I'm planning for my finished game, and these will be untextured. Yet it still took me 2/3 of a day to model the car, set up all the bones in Blender, and then import it into Unreal. So if I had any aspirations of making 700 cars to the standard of Forza Motorsport, then I would have to work the rest of my life, with minimal bathroom breaks, just to build the 3D models. See, I was working smartly after all. Fortunately, I'd already spent some time on previous builds of my game getting my head around Unreal's Chaos vehicle system, and could migrate a lot of my code over there to get the little Mazda motoring in no time. Now, the vehicle physics are not where I want them to be for my final project, but seeing as this license test involves driving in a straight line and braking to hit a target, I didn't need to worry too much about that just yet. Once the vehicle was running in my test level, which again I'd already built for an earlier version of my game, I set about making the parking sensors that would determine if both the front and rear of the minivan were in the parking zone. Amazingly for me, pretty much everything worked first time. I absolutely hated the visual scripting side of Unreal when I first started to use it, because I've apparently wasted decades of my life learning C#. But I'm starting to appreciate the speed I can smash things together. It's like Lego, with syntax errors. Drunk with success and coffee, I put together a quick turntable and car selection. Even though I don't plan to use this for the final project, it was a way of implementing persistent variables across the game and working out how to load different cars into the scene. All in all, a successful day. I knew I was going to have less time to work today, so I wanted to tackle some of the jobs that I thought would be easier, but also more of a chore. Even though I've spent 20 years working as a designer, I really wasn't very excited about putting together the UI and interface for my game. Fortunately, I had an idea. I'll just copy what they did in Gran Turismo. So I roughed it out in Illustrator before realising this probably wasn't the best use of my time for that day. At this stage, I wasn't sure how the HUD was going to work, so drawing detailed UI elements wasn't a priority right now. Instead, I built a quick and dirty display widget in Unreal to show the speed, gear and current time in the level. Bit of advice to all the asset flippers out there. If you put no other work into your game, at least change the default font. It makes such a difference. You can thank me and mined Steam cards or whatever it is you guys actually do with your profits. I finished the day by putting in a penalty trigger when the car hits the cones, triggering a fail state. That bit was easy. I like to build my games with a central game controller blueprint that everything else is connected to. So if the car hits a cone, it sends a message to the game controller and that triggers all the other systems, rather than the car blueprint activating things directly. Now this might seem convoluted, but to me it makes a lot of sense. For example, you shouldn't be storing values for speed and time in your HUD. All that information should be in your game controller and passed to the HUD when it is needed. That way, if you need to find out the vehicle speed for another system in the game, such as checking to see if you parked properly, they can all come from the game controller without having to be rerouted back from the HUD widget. With the penalty system in place, I now had a working win-fail state for the game. Before I powered my PC down for the day, I wanted to add in the auto brake system that Gran Turismo uses when you fail a test. It took a bit of fiddling about to make the braking constant, but after 20 minutes or so, it was up and running, and I could basically tick the first license test off my list. 2 lessons learned today. Lesson 1. NVIDIA's screen recording software will not tell you it's stopped recording because it's run out of disk space. As a result, this morning's work went uncaptured. However, I got the cinematic cameras up and running so I could have a cool little Gran Turismo style animation showing off the sleek lines of the Demio in all its 1.5 litre, 98 horsepower glory. The level blueprint triggers a cinematic sequence on load, and then when playback is complete, it sends a trigger to the game controller to give the player control to start the level. This will work like a charm. Lesson 2. Don't spend a couple of hours implementing a quality of life feature to a prototype, completely against the point of prototyping. Also, you could charge for its DLC later on. I wanted to make it possible for the player to skip the animation by pressing the start button, but I couldn't come up with a reliable system to end the animation early and give the player control at the right time. I'll put it on the later base. Maybe I'll come back to it. I definitely won't. I finished the day by making a 3D version of the time control logo, the working title for my game, and recreated the Gran Turismo success screen complete with a spinning medal. Getting a 3D model to render as a texture was a bit complicated, but I got there in the end, and now the game would pull the target times of the stage and compare your runtime before awarding you the correct medal. I ran out of time to make a nice looking bronze material, so for some reason mine looks like mud. Which is what you deserve if you can only drive at a bronze level of ability, if you ask me. Today was a big progress day, even if by the end of my time working, things looked largely the same. With the first stage working as a prototype, it was time to add in the next of the 3 recreations I had planned to work on. The good news for everyone concerned, which is just me, is that stage 2 is just stage 1 but longer. Job done. The bad news for everyone concerned, still just me, is that this needed a completely different car, the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, which I didn't have a model of. But I did have a model of a Subaru Impreza, which, as any car expert will tell you, is nothing like the Mitsubishi 3000 GT. In the interest of speed and not losing another day to modelling a car, it was going to have to do. I really like Unreal's Blueprint child system here. I could duplicate the master, stick on some new Subaru clothes, and tweak the engine and tyre properties, and straight away I had a new working car in the game. Even better, if I made changes to the Mazda's code, the Impreza would follow. So you can have cars with individual characteristics, but the code handling the controller inputs, collision detection and camera views would be universal. Perfect. I added in the 3 Gran Turismo camera views, all faithfully in slightly their own position: bumper cam, roof mounted, and the chase view. The rest of the day was spent building a simple menu screen to choose the stage. I wasn't going to miss out on my own Brat summer, so lime green it was. After a bit of fiddling with code, a simple progress system was in place, locking the level until you had achieved at least a mud level medal. I have had to do 5 takes to say that. And your current haul was displayed on the menu screen. I got carried away and dusted off another model from my external hard drive, the Subaru's natural nemesis, the Mitsubishi Evo 7. 8? 7. I think this is the 8. I put in a very simple slalom level and sat back, satisfied that I'd now got 3 stages in my game, completely forgetting that stage 3 in Gran Turismo 4 is absolutely nothing like this. At this point, I'm pretty sure you're thinking, hey, those low poly car models look pretty good to me. I wish I could have access to them, while maybe paying a tiny amount of money to support this good man in his efforts. Well, good news for everyone concerned, and this time I'm talking about you and me. You can buy them from my itch store for a tiny amount of money. Link in the description. And if you don't want to do that, how do you feel about a like, a comment, or a subscribe? I'm going to assume you did all 4. Thanks so much. I'm going to speed through day 5 a bit for 2 reasons. Firstly, I was finishing up the HUD and implementing it into the game. All pretty painless, just a bit tedious. I lost a lot of time to a stupid bug where it wasn't displaying the mini dashboard and full dashboard at the right time, and then it ended up being a simple variable being routed the wrong way around. If I had a dollar for every time that had happened, I wouldn't need that itch store I mentioned earlier. Secondly, somebody ran out of disk space again, and so I lost a chunk of capture time. But I had finally reached a point where I could no longer look at the default grid pattern that made up my level. So I started to create a low poly version of Gran Turismo's test track in Blender and brought it over to Unreal. The default lighting in Unreal is so good, it makes everything look pretty polished, no matter how quickly thrown together your assets are. I really like the final aesthetic here. It's Gran Turismo meets Art of Rally. It's not where I plan to take my finished game, but it's something to think about, because I know that as a solo developer I can produce these kind of assets a lot faster than what I originally had in mind. It was a long day, but it was very satisfying to see something that actually finally looked like a game. Nice one. Final day in the completely arbitrary YouTube style time frame I'd given myself, and everything was working exactly as it should. And because you can't play my game yet, you can't prove otherwise. So time to do a bit of final polishing to the UI, with some car thumbnails, some shiny medals to the level select screen, and a new skid pan based stage for a bit of variety. One of the other Gran Turismo tests involved weaving through a maze of cones, and I knew I'd be able to quickly implement this with the mechanics already in place. Because 5 seemed like a nice number, I made one final auto test style stage and put my trusty Hyundai WRC car that I've been using as a platform for my main game in to complete the garage. I wanted to get enough content together to make a quick YouTube short that was guaranteed to go viral. People love racing games, people love nostalgia, people love remakes. It was guaranteed, nailed on, fried gold. It has, at the time of recording, had 24 views. But it's done. It's rough as toast, but I've learned a lot from wholesale stealing the mechanics of another game and recreating it. I've learned how to save and load data, transfer information between levels, create multiple vehicles relatively quickly, and get a decent foundation to build on. I also really loved working on this. Gran Turismo has long been one of my favourite car games, and it was immensely satisfying to put my own spin on things. It really helped reduce the paralysis of choice from starting to build a large title. Also, the license tests are really fun, and I think there's definite potential for something along these lines in my finished game. Do not underestimate the enjoyment of trying to stop a car in a near impossible time in a tiny box. I'm going to think about remaking some other parts of games to keep developing my skills and see where the inspiration takes me. And if you want to give my final project, Jank and All, a test drive, you can find a link in the description, along with my itch store. Did I mention that? Thanks for watching. Let's do it again soon.